potato cake, also known as koguma cake, is literally one of my favorite desserts. It's so delicious and soft, and you should definitely try it or make your own like me. And I don't know if it's available here in America. Like, I don't know if bakeries sell it or not, but whenever I've had it in Korea, so I'm just gonna say that it's a Korean dessert. But I decided to make this because my friend was graduating that weekend and I wanted to celebrate. So I hope you enjoyed, Gia. First, I'm gonna start off with the sponge cake. I grabbed 3 of my room temperature eggs that I left outside for a really long time. I don't know how long exactly, but you gotta crack those open into the bowl and make sure you separate the egg whites from the egg yolks. Then I grabbed my handy dandy food scale and I placed my little bowl and tared it. And I think I'm putting salt into it, right? Yeah, that's salt. So I'm gonna measure out 1 gram of salt. Then I'm gonna grab my egg yolks and place it into another bowl. And then I'm gonna place my salt also into the bowl. Then I'm gonna measure out my vanilla extract. And place it into the bowl. And now I'm gonna go ahead and mix that thing up. Moving on to the egg whites from earlier, I'm going to place those into a larger bowl and then start beating it with a hand mixer. As it starts to bubble and become a thicker consistency, I'm going to divide my 90 grams of sugar into 3, and then I'm going to pour the sugar into the bowl with the egg whites little by little and continue beating the egg whites. Once all the sugar is added, I'm just going to continue beating the eggs until it forms a stiff peak. You know, like when you make the macarons and meringue cookies, it's all about the peak. But it's going to be nice and fluffy and beautiful. And a good way to test if your little egg white mixture is ready is by putting the bowl over your head. It's a little risky, but if you flip it over your head and nothing falls out, that means your egg whites are ready. Then you are going to add the yolk mixture that you set aside from earlier. And mix it all together. Now you're going to take your 90 grams of cake flour and start sifting it right onto the mixture. And once you're done, you're going to take your spatula and start mixing and mixing. Once the mixture looks all smooth and even and everything looks mixed in, I'm going to grab a smaller bowl and put in my 30 grams of vegetable oil and my 30 grams of milk and take a small batch of the cake batter and pour it into the smaller bowl and start mixing. I'm going to continue mixing it till it looks a nice liquidy consistency. And then I'm going to take that smaller bowl and place it back into the bigger mixture. And mix it all together. continue mixing till it gets to the point where I lift up my spatula and the batter slides nicely off of it. Once my cake batter is ready, I'm gonna get my cake pan ready by cutting out parchment paper to fit inside of it. And then I'm going to pour the batter into the cake pan. My cake pan is huge because it's the only thing that I have at my house, but the smaller the better because the smaller the pan, the thicker the cake. Dang, someone should write that down. Anyhow, now you're just gonna slap your cake pan onto the table by throwing it down because you gotta get those air bubbles out of the batter. Even though I beat my cake down 36 times, I still ended up having bubbles. Plop that thing into the oven. I can't remember what the temperature was, but I think it was like 350 degrees. Just kidding, it's 338 degrees Fahrenheit, and for 30 minutes. I actually had to make it twice because, you know, my cake pan is big, so my cake was thin, which made me want to make another layer so I could put the cream in between, you know what I'm saying? So here is me putting in the second batch into the oven. And now on to the delicious sweet potato filling. For this part, I peeled, I think it was like 4 sweet potatoes, but the more the better. And you're just gonna peel, and I decided to measure it out, even though I didn't even end up getting the correct amount of grams, but that's okay. And once you have all of that set, you're just gonna start smooshing the sweet potato. I don't exactly know what this device is called, but it really does a good job of smooshing the sweet potato, so I would highly recommend. And now I'm gonna pour in my 100 milliliters of heavy cream, 100 grams of milk, and 35 grams of butter into a pot and put it on low heat. And then I'm just gonna mix it. Once the butter is all melted and all the liquid ingredients are mixed in together, you're gonna put in the sweet potato that you smooshed and just keep mixing it around. It should start to get thicker and thicker over time. Once it is at your desired consistency, you're gonna press pause and move back over to your cake. I didn't have any like tin shape or anything, so I decided to use an empty glass bowl to cut out my cake. And then my mom told me I was being dumb, and she told me to put the knife around the bowl so it could actually dig into it instead of just pushing it. Then I took some of the leftover edges of the cake that I cut out and ran it through a sifter so I could get all the breadcrumbs to gather into the bowl so I can use it later as a topping. And then I did the exact same thing to the other cake. Also, I really struggled to get that cake out of the pan when you literally could take off the bottom and remove it, but that's fine. Then I'm gonna grab the sugar syrup that I made by mixing 1 part water and 1 part sugar, and I'm gonna take a little brush kind of thing and lightly coat the cake. And then I'm gonna place my sweet potato filling onto the cake. Then once the filling is nicely layered onto the bottom cake, then I will place the second layer of cake on top. I don't have any footage of me making my whipped cream, but if you want to know what I used, I will have the link in the description box below. The first time I tried frosting the cake with the whipped cream, it did not work out so well, and bits of the cake were getting onto the outer layer, so I decided to take a little break and throw it into the fridge so it can chill. And I decided to keep the first layer of whipped cream that I put on the cake, and I made an entirely new batch of whipped cream and put that on there, and it actually worked out pretty well, so that's good. Once the frosting of the cake was completed, I added the breadcrumbs that I made out of the leftover cake to add a little bit of a garnish. I ran it through a sieve to make sure it was finely grounded. To finish, I topped it off with a beautiful basil leaf. Thank you, Mom. And if you like this video, then go smash the like button and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching. Bye. Life comes and go. 최대한 즐겨둬. 우리가 하나가 될 수 있다면은 넌 나와 fusion. 검지와 검지를 붙여줘.